Meet Bob. Bob is a good guy. He wakes up at 6 a.m., drinks lukewarm coffee that tastes like disappointment, and heads to a cubicle to trade the best years of his life for a digital number. Bob is playing a game. He thinks it is called career growth. But in reality, Bob is trapped inside a giant, invisible Monopoly board. And the rules? Well, Bob has not read the fine print. Every month, Bob's character piece moves across the board. He passes go, and he collects his salary, $2,000. He feels good. He buys a branded shirt and a sandwich that costs more than his hourly wage. But here is the problem. Bob is running on a treadmill. Every time he laps the board, the price of the properties he passes, those little blue and green squares we call houses, doubles. 10 years ago, Bob could buy a house for 5 laps of the board. Today, it takes 50. Bob is working harder, but the board is expanding faster than his legs can move. Why? Because Bob is playing with income, while his opponents are playing with assets. In this game, the banker is not your friend. The banker is the guy who lends Bob's opponent, let us call him Chad, $10 million at nearly 0% interest. Chad does not work in a cubicle. Chad does not wait for a salary. Chad uses that cheap, borrowed money to buy every single property on the board. He does this before Bob even finishes his first lap. While Bob is saving his paper money in a piggy bank, the banker is busy printing more of it. Imagine you are playing Monopoly, and every time you are about to buy a hotel, the banker just prints $1 billion new dollars and hands them to the guy sitting next to you. Suddenly, your $100 bill is not worth a hotel. It is barely worth a piece of toilet paper. This is not a glitch. This is the Cantillon effect. The closer you are to the money printer, the richer you get. The further away you are, down in the cubicles with Bob, the more you pay for the printer's party. Bob looks at his paycheck. It is the same number as last year. Then he looks at the price of a head of lettuce. It looks like a luxury item. Bob is confused. He was told that if he worked hard and saved his pennies, he would win. But the pennies are melting. The system has a name for this. They call it inflation, which is just a fancy word for we are slowly stealing your life force through your wallet. While Bob waits for his 3% annual raise, the stock market and the real estate market are doing backflips. The rich are not getting richer because they work 10,000 times harder than Bob. They are getting richer because they own the things that the newly printed money flows into first. Bob is playing a game of work for money. The rich are playing a game of own the game. If you spend your life chasing the salary square, you are just a pawn helping the other players build their hotels. You are not a player. You are the liquidity. You are the fuel for a machine that was designed to keep you exactly where you are. Just wealthy enough to keep working, but too broke to ever quit. Look at the chart, Bob. The line for wages is flat, like a dead man's heart rate. The line for asset prices is a rocket ship heading for Mars. You are not failing because you are lazy. You are failing because you are trying to win a rigged game using the wrong currency. In this world, professional employee is just another way of saying permanent tenant on someone else's board. Welcome to the rigged monopoly. In the next part, we will talk about how Bob can stop being a pawn and start owning the dice. But first, Bob needs to realize that his piggy bank is actually a trash can with a lid on it. This is the end of part 1. So Bob is standing there, holding his paper money, while the world around him gets exponentially more expensive. He is starting to realize that his hard work is actually just subsidizing the lifestyle of the guy who owns the board. This is the part where most people just give up and buy a larger TV to distract themselves. They want to forget the slow-motion car crash of their bank account. but not you. Hopefully, not Bob. Before we show Bob how to flip the table, I need to check something. Are you still staring at this screen like a pawn? Or are you ready to become a player? If this deep dive into the rigged game is making your brain itch in the right way, hit the like button. Subscribe to Digital Bullion. Why? Because the algorithm is part of the game too, and we need to feed it. We need to feed it so more Bobs out there can wake up. Drop a comment below saying, I am done being a pawn, if you have ever felt like your paycheck was a lie. Done? Good. Let us get back to the tragedy. The tragedy of Bob is a math problem. Bob is saving a depreciating asset to buy an appreciating asset. Bob is saving a depreciating asset to buy an appreciating asset. That is like trying to fill a bucket with a hole in the bottom to buy a golden fountain. While Bob saves his dollars, the value of those dollars drops by 7% or 15%. Let us be honest, whatever the price of eggs says it is today. Meanwhile, the apartment building Bob lives in goes up by 20%. This happens because the big players are using debt to buy it. Wait, did I say debt? Yes, this is the secret weapon of the Monopoly masters. Bob was taught that debt is bad. His mother told him to pay off his credit cards and stay out of trouble. And she was right, for Bob. But for the elite, debt is a superpower. When the banker prints money, it creates inflation. Inflation makes the value of debt shrink. If you owe $1 million and the currency devalues by half, you effectively only owe $500,000. The rich use cheap debt to buy hard assets like real estate, gold, or Bitcoin. They let the inflation eat their debt while their assets move. Bob, on the other hand, uses expensive debt to buy things that rot. He uses a credit card with 22% interest to buy a sofa. A sofa that will be worth $0 in 3 years. Bob is using debt to move backward. The rich use debt to teleport forward. The climax of this horror story happens when the bubble pops. You see, the game cannot expand forever. Eventually, the debt gets too heavy. The banker raises interest rates. The market screams. And guess who gets crushed first? Not the guy with the 10 hotels. He is already hedged. It is Bob. Bob loses his job, cannot pay his mortgage, and the banker takes his house back. The only property Bob spent 30 laps trying to buy. The rich then walk in with their remaining cash and buy Bob's house for pennies on the dollar. The cycle repeats. The board gets smaller, the hotels get bigger, and Bob gets a new rental agreement. So, how does Bob escape? He has to stop being a consumer and start being an accumulator. First, Bob needs to stop saving trash. Every dollar you keep in a savings account is a gift to the banker. You have to convert your labor into things the printer cannot create out of thin air. You need to buy the squares on the board, not the tokens. Second, Bob needs to understand that his greatest asset is his ability to exit the currency trap. This means moving from paper wealth to private wealth. The game is rigged, yes, but the rules are public. Own the things that people need. Because at the end of the day, there are only two types of people. Those who work for the money, and those who own the things the money is trying to buy. The hamster wheel only works if you keep running. Step off. The view is much better from the owner's box.